We can go with that. Hey,
Kind of my
Stephanie
motto.
Fritz wants to know, what's your favorite part about being an action sports athlete?
I think the greatest part about being in action sports is it's very individual. You know, you set your own, you set your world. You know, it takes a lot of your friends to kind of be around to kind of push you, and you really live in this fantasy world where you get paid to go out and push the limits. You get paid to think of what's other people think is impossible. And there's a certain gratification when you come up with a trick and everyone says it can't be done. And even some of your best friends will be like, it can't be done. And they start thinking, they're like, well, what if you try this? What if you try this? And you know, now, I mean, the trick that I've been working on for this year's X Games has been 4 years in the making. I've crashed on it so much. I've ended up with 2 back surgeries. I've had a concussion. I was pissing blood last time we tried this trick. I mean, this is something that when you dedicate so much time and effort, and it doesn't sound like fun, and it is really, I mean, to be in
It
this
really
foam pit
doesn't,
that we
Travis.
have,
I got to be honest. It doesn't sound like fun.
yeah. But it's that work, that effort that goes into something that really makes succeeding so great. I mean, the foam pit, it was 120 degrees, no kidding, this last 2 weeks in the, you know, not every day, but, you know, it's been ridiculous up in Maryland. And, you know, I actually got in the NASCAR and was like, it's going to be hot. I was like, oh, this is way better. I don't have gas pouring on me. I'm not stuck upside down, broken somehow. So, you know, it's just that gratification of being able to succeed in something that, you know, no one's there. You have no coaches. There's no nobody there that's looking over your shoulder. It's all you and how much you're willing to work. And I think that goes with all sports, but especially in action sports, because there's no one that's done it before you. There's no precedent set, and I like that.
I think you've sort of answered this question with your previous answer, but Pinky Mons TER11 wants to know, what do you do with your free time? And I'll add, if you have any.
You get free time every time you get injured with action sports. So when you have a break, you get a break. Unfortunately, last year with the car stuff, I broke my collarbone, compound fracture through the skin. I did that on Monday. On Tuesday, I had surgery in Florida. On Wednesday, I flew to Snowdrift Rally in Michigan. And on Friday and Saturday, we ended up winning the Snowdrift Rally. So it's good because cars you can really do injured. So I don't really have a lot of free time, as it turns out.
Tim from Alabama wants you to pick your friends now. Who are some of the coolest drivers you've met so far in NASCAR?
For me, I think the coolest drivers have been, you know, Brian Vickers has really been awesome. He's come down a lot of Nitro Circus shoots, as well as Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy's actually a lot of fun. It's funny because he's, you know, he's always very professional, but he's, you know, he's just such a cool guy, you know, out of the car as well. And it's pretty neat to get to hang with those guys and really see, you know, kind of more who they are behind the scenes. But you know, Michael Waltrip's been absolutely awesome, and you know, hanging with a lot of the K&N guys and even the truck guys with you know, Matt Crafton, who's been kind of a driver coach. I mean, we could drive all day long, and it's, you know, hot and humid. Everyone's like, oh, we just want to go to sleep, and you know, we'll pay the go-kart place to you know, give the guy an extra like 100, 200 bucks to stay open, and we'll drive go-karts till 2 in the morning. And I just think that competitive spirit is really, that camaraderie is something that I didn't expect in NASCAR, but it's, you know, all the guys are just really out there. They just love driving. I mean, guys like Tony Stewart, you know, this guy will drive, you know, and Kyle Busch, they're driving, you know, 4 different cars a week and in every different state. And, you know, Tony, no one really understands how much he does so much for charity and so much, you know, visits, you know, people in the hospital that have been injured from motocross or anything else. And, you know, a lot of the guys are just really, really good guys. And it's just been an honor to be able to kind of hang out with all of them.
I think the late night go-kart racing, now that sounds like fun. That's something that we could all get into. Alan from South Carolina asked an interesting question. Who was your racing idol growing up?
For me, Doug Henry. I mean, motocross was really what I spent my life, you know, looking up to those guys. Doug Henry was a guy that was my hero. He went and broke his back. He came back from that. You know, all the way to become a champion. You know, but he was always a guy that it didn't matter what place he was on the track. He always just loved racing. He always tried hard. He always pushed to the very last second. He always did the jumps that were the biggest on the track, no matter if he needed to or not. You know, guys like that, guys like Guy Cooper, who just always pushed themselves and always jumped the highest, went the furthest, and just really enjoyed what they did. that I really looked up to. You know, if you look at driving, I was always kind of a Colin McRae fan, and just the checker record kind of guys would just go for it. So, you know, those were, and now, you know, since switching to NASCAR, you know, looking up to those guys, you know, Jimmy was always someone that I looked up to just because I knew him from Rick Johnson, and knew him even before, you know, he was really started to be so dominant in the last, over the last, you know, 6 years, so.
Sure, there's obviously some good names there. Grant Sisk wants to know, do you see NASCAR being your main sport if you're successful? So if this turns out to be a real success, does NASCAR become your main sport?
It has to actually become my main sport before it's successful, or I'll never be successful at the sport of NASCAR. It's something that basically I have to get through this year. I knew that coming in. You know, we were talking with the Waltrip Racing family, and I said, look, I have a lot of obligations through the rest of the year. We're filming a Nitro Circus 3D film. We have live tours for Nitro Circus, as well as, you know, really want to get this trick landed, hopefully on Thursday. So we'll see how that goes, and hopefully there's no hospital visits or anything after that, and we'll be able to really buckle down and focus on NASCAR. And it just got to be. But for the next 2 to 3 years, no matter what, that's my goal. That's my focus, and that's my priority. So. You know, I should know after that if I'm going to be able to stay in the sport or if I'm going to get booted off. So, you know, I really think that I can do it. I think we have the right team in place, and you know, I've said it before, but you know, every red-blooded American feels like they could be a great NASCAR driver, and I'm going to find out if I can be. So it's a great opportunity.
A couple of times now you've whet our appetite by mentioning this trick, and I've heard you say that it would be easier to describe how a rocket flies than to describe the trick you're going to do. Is there anything, first of all, can you tell us how a rocket flies? And second of all, is there anything in the world that you can tell us about this? Any preview at all that you can give the NASCAR fans?
Yeah, I mean, it's a 720. On a motorcycle, there's 3 people in the world that have ever done a double backflip, which is 2 rotations all in the same direction. This is going to be trying to take off and doing 2 full spins. So it's basically 2 off-axis flips. The really difficult part about this is there's no way to get the motorcycle spinning fast until the halfway point. So I have to pull like I'm doing a double backflip as hard as I can, everything that I have off the lip. The second I get back in a position where you hit that zero gravity point, I have to take everything that I have and go everything to the left, which is basically going to start the spin. And after that, I have to throw everything that I have backwards. So there's 3 points on this trick that have to be exactly at the right time. If I spin too fast or too slow on the takeoff, I'm done. I've never been able to spin it too fast, but hypothetically, if I spin too fast or too slow on the second part, I'm done. Too fast or too slow on the third part, and I'm done. They have to be in exactly the right time, and it's difficult because with the double flip, you pull as hard as you can, and you just keep pulling, and there's not a lot that you can mess up. I mean, you know, obviously you cannot rotate enough, in which case you're knocked out and you won't remember it, but it's a pretty simple trick. This trick is just as difficult, but it's not simple, so that's been very frustrating that in 4 years, you would think that I would have enough talent or enough intelligence to either quit or to have it dialed. But
that hadn't
right now,
happened yet?
About 8 for 10.
Okay, 8 for that's good.
8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 is pretty good. I'm like, that's probably the best odds that I'm ever going to get with this trick into the foam pit, which is soft. The problem is, if I get number 9 or 10, I'm probably not making it in Indianapolis, and
this is really troubling. This is really troubling.
So this is a problem, yes. So,
yeah, I've identified a problem.
I think we got it.
Well, here's my question.
It's basically like,
I want to know if we could freeze time just maybe a tenth of the way into this jump and then ask you, do you have it or not? When do you know you've got it or you don't have it?
Okay, I'll know if I don't have it right as soon as that bike takes off. You're throwing 220 pounds as hard as you possibly can.
And
if it doesn't take off fast enough,
you'll know immediately.
Well, I'll know if I'm done there. I won't know if I'm going to land it, but I know if I have no chance of landing it.
Okay.
So I'll take off and be like, I still have a chance. And then I'll pull the second one and be like, I either still have a chance or I don't have a chance. And then I'll pull the third time and be like, either still have a chance or I don't have a chance. So yeah, I really won't know until I can see that ground. And that's the problem, because if you look early, you actually rotate the bike and land sideways, which I did the first time that I tried it 2 years ago at X Games. I was like, I want to see the ground because I'm scared. And then I saw the ground with my back, which wasn't fun.
That's scary too. See, that adds to the scare. William Richard wants to know, and this kind of ties into all this with NASCAR, will you ever attempt a backflip a NASCAR race car? So there, try that one.
There were some guys on the Nitro Circus live program that were trying to do it with a dune buggy, and they used basically like I don't know, just hydraulics. It didn't work very well. So honestly, I figure if I'm flipping or spinning in a NASCAR, I'm doing something very wrong, and I'm going to try to avoid that for at least a couple years. Yeah.
So you'll attempt to not do it, frankly. That's where you're going with that.
My goal is to not flip a NASCAR.
Okay,
yes.
interesting. Okay, we go in a different direction with that one. What's the biggest challenge, Brett Winningham wants to know, with all that you do, being away from your family? I know you miss your family a lot, sure, being away this much time.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it's tough. I mean, my mom's out here at X Games, and, you know, if I have any local stuff, which is good because NASCAR's a lot on the East Coast. My dad will be able to go to a lot more of those events. He, you know, works construction, just family-run company, so he doesn't have a chance to really take off much or travel too much. But you know, it's been really neat. Like my fiance is actually in the Nitro Circus tour with me. She, you know, 3-time X Games gold medalist in skateboarding, so we get to travel around all the time together. And for the most part, my family, my closest friends are all with me at almost all times. I mean, we travel around in this literally the circus, and it's been a great time with action sports. And you know, that'll slow down a little bit now with NASCAR, where you know I have kind of a new family, if you will. But no, it's definitely tough. You know, I don't get to see my my grandparents or anything too often, and you know, all my uncles and whatnot. But you know, for the most part, I mean, even my cousin Greg, who's in part of the Nitro Circus, you know, and really good on BMX, he's going to be my front tire carrier for NASCAR team. So
oh, wow.
Most of the people that are around me really have a great family of friends, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, and NASCAR is very big into family, so it's interesting to hear that. Nitro Circus, you've mentioned it a couple times. I know the 3D thing's coming out. Is there anything you want to tell your fans, any preview you want to give us when that's coming out and what it's going to be like?
Thank goodness we're almost done filming. This has been, we pushed ourselves so hard, went so far, and we didn't want to just do the average stuff. We wanted to take the sports to a whole new level, and with the 3D cameras is something that I hope we will never do again, in that, you know, action sports or even doing the stuff, like if you have time to think about what could possibly go wrong, it's horrible. And with the cameras, they're like, oh wait, we have a power glitch, we're going to be 30 minutes moving the camera. We're like, wait, no, I don't want to do it anymore. But it's been the most exciting, nerve-wracking, fun experience of my entire life. And with the 3D cameras, I was against 3D. I'm still kind of against 3D, but seeing the footage, I could not tell you how excited I am for this film, and I'm just really pumped that you know, so far we've still got a little bit. I'd like to thank LaJoy, everybody for getting us all the seats for the bus. We have this big bus jump that we're doing. Basically trying to go over 200 feet with all the cast in a bus, and everyone from NASCAR has stepped in. We've got basically all the guys from you know, the Michael Waltrip shop. Biggins especially has taken this bus, taken it from 15,000 pounds to 10,000 pounds. We got all the joy seats in the thing, so it's all like NASCAR'd out. It's going to be sweet. Got all the roll cages put in, and took an LS7 motor and supercharged it. So we got about 900 horsepower. We should be able to hit about 110 miles an hour on the takeoff. And it's been really cool because they've been actually kind of showing us on the computer where it's been. They've been measuring it out with all the NASCAR shop. It's after hours at Waltrip Racing is actually just as much fun as during the hours and trying to figure out the cars. And they've been up literally all night figuring out how this thing's going to fly. They even put a little wing in the back of the the back of the bus, because they said it's on the computer it flies a little front end high, which is going to be more wind resistance. So if we want to try to drop that nose a little bit, we just hit this button on the steering wheel and it'll drop basically a wing in the back and lower the nose, and should give us another 50 to 70 feet off the distance. So I really want to thank everyone involved for making this hopefully a safe and really fun flight of a school bus.
See, now I'm very excited. That's a good job right there. I'm very, very excited to see what goes on with this.